Statement of purpose and letters of recommendation are an important part of the application. They're a part of the application that you have a little bit more control over. So we're going to talk about how you put those together, who you ask, when you ask, and how to tell your story or tell the story, which is your application. So a statement of purpose is first and foremost your goals. What we like to say in the US, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are your aspirations? How does this degree fit into your story? You have a dream, you're studying engineering, so chances are you're probably a problem solver. What is the problem that you want to solve, whether it's a micro problem or a macro problem? And how is this program going to help you get to that place where you're solving those problems? The SOP tells a little bit more about who you are, your academic and professional, your goals, the things that you can bring to the program. Remember that for most of us, we get a lot of applications from many wonderful, very talented students. And, just as you would not want to have all right-handed pitchers on your baseball team, you want to have a mix of kinds of students and researchers and interests in your laboratory, in your graduate program. So understanding what you bring to the table is really important. And then, it's an opportunity for you to highlight things, achievements, accomplishments, prizes. Be careful, because a lot of that goes in your CV, or sometimes we call it the resume, right? That's the place where you talk about the jobs you've had and the awards you've won. But there are a few things that you may want to write about that you're particularly proud of, or that are particularly interesting in the context of this program that you're applying for. Okay. So obviously it's an introduction to you, your background. You don't want to completely repeat what's in your CV. All right. We can read, we ask for that CV for a reason. We'll have all that. What's your career goal? What sparked your interest? How did you get started on this journey? Remember, most engineers are problem solvers, not all, but most. And what are the problems that you want to solve? And how did you get excited about that? Whether it was firsthand experience as a young person or someone that you really admired who was in the field. But tell us what that spark is. I think all of us in education get excited about hearing our students' spark. What is that thing that got them excited about this field, this profession? Do your homework. Do your research. At some universities, they may only have a few engineering programs. If you are interested in studying biomimicry, production technologies, I don't even know if that's a thing, I'm making that up and calling it a field, many universities are not going to have that. Some universities may. So you want to make sure that you're applying to the right program, because one, if you're not a good match for the program you're applying for, the faculty may consider you for other programs at the university, which would overlap with those research interests or those program interests. Particularly at the doctoral level, make sure you have a specific research area, right? It's not enough, especially at the doctoral level, to say, well, I want to study electrical, or I want to study software, or I want to study biomedical. Okay, well, what about biomedical or aerospace or whatever the field is that you want to study, right? You're not putting a dissertation proposal together. It's nothing that elaborate, but you want to include enough information so that the director of the lab, the academic committee, the graduate committee that's looking at your application is able to get a sense of your potential and how you will fit into the lab and how you will match up with faculty who may be doing research in those areas. And then finally, how this program is going to help you reach your goals. Remember, you know, I said at the beginning, this is part of your story, that how you got excited about engineering and what are those things you want to solve. How does this program get you to that next place, to that journey where you are solving the problems or tackling the kinds of issues that you want to be engaged in? All right. Now, letters of recommendation. So letters of recommendation are a uniquely American phenomenon. In the US, our education system is built around something called peer review, the review of peers. So when we as institutions are evaluated, it's not the government that comes in and says, oh, you're a good university, you're an average university. It is bodies that my colleague Lynn talked about, and they have these long alphabet names, which aren't important. But what they do is they get groups of experts from other universities who come to the university and examine the process, what's being taught, the outcomes, and they give recommendations. You can do this better, or this is a really good practice that other folks could learn from. A letter of recommendation is in the same vein. In a perfect world, you would be a student at a university in the United States, you're applying for grad school, and your professors from your program are writing to the professors in the doctoral program and saying, my student Chris was wonderful and one of the 10 best students I taught this year, and whatever things they include. It's a little bit harder when you're applying from Korea, right? There's a chance that faculty may know each other, but chances are the letter has to speak for the faculty member as their recommendation. So, which brings us to, it's really important that at least one of the recommendations is from a faculty member. If there are 3 required, 2 faculty recommendations, 1 supervisor or professional recommendation will do. But the more faculty you have recommending, the better. Now we know some of you have been in industry for a while. You may not have stayed in touch with your professors. So I'm going to talk in a second about how you ask for that letter and how you can try to ensure that you have the kinds of recommenders that you need. As part of your recommendation process, hopefully the person who's writing the letter is able to not repeat, but echo, to say similar things to what you're saying in your SOP and what is in the rest of your application, so that when the committee reads it, they see the complete story. They read the complete story of your application. Okay, so what should be in the letter? How they know you, why they're recommending you, some personal examples that support what they're saying. You know, Chris was volunteered to tutor students in the class who were struggling and brought them from a C grade to a B grade, or Chris was one of the best students I ever taught. None of them are saying that about Chris in real life. I'm just using Chris as an example. In real life, most of the professors would probably say, Chris is one of the laziest students I've ever taught. I can't believe he's asking me for this letter of recommendation. I can't see anybody. I don't know if you're laughing or not, but that's my attempt at humor. And when I teach in my classes, I remind my students that laughing at the professor's jokes is, 1, considered good manners, and number 2, is positively associated with good grade outcomes in the class. So just a little pro tip for you: when you come to the US, laugh at the professor's jokes, even if they're bad. Okay, moving right along. So a closing statement should be no more than 1 page. Who should you ask to recommend you? Former professors, research supervisors, supervisors in jobs, internships. How do you ask someone to be a writer, a letter writer for you. Ask them well in advance. These are extremely busy people. All right. Do not wait until the week before the deadline. This should be something that you do weeks and even months in advance. Second, make sure you provide them a copy of your CV or resume and a copy of your draft statement of purpose. As my colleagues have mentioned, we know that your SOP is a work in progress. It's an evolving document. That's fine. But remember, we teach a lot of students. As much as I try, I have a little bit of a difficulty remembering a student I taught 5 years ago, let alone last year. Having the CV, having the statement of purpose is very helpful for me to jog my memory, to help me be able to tailor my letter to speak about you specifically. And then finally, big pro tip, chocolate has never been refused, and as far as I'm aware of, when you're asking someone to write you a letter of recommendation, a little sweet treat so they can be sweet when they write about you.